somebody said they were going to throw things at you, so I told them. My name is Patty Archer, and I'm excited to have you all here. Hope you've been having a great session. So far on day 2 of our e-resource and emerging technology summit. I'm excited to have the dean here with us, and Stephen and all of you. So we're going to get started with Josh's session, and so in case you want to know what you're here for, it's transforming tutorials to make digital library videos more engaging and accessible online. Josh is in charge of distance education at the University of Alabama, Gorgas. So he's at Gorgas Library. He's got a BS in Management Information Systems, a Master in American Studies, and an MLIS as well. He worked as a teaching assistant, an undergraduate instructor, and a Blackboard technical support specialist. And he's been with the library for about 2 years. So, is there anything else after that? His professional areas of focus include distance education, outreach, and emerging technologies. And he is going to get us excited about the way we think about tutorials, which is a big thing, because certainly how many of you all do distance education support? So that's a huge thing that we've been talking about here at MSU Libraries, and Rachel Kennedy, who is in charge of that for us, has been doing a lot of work. So I'm really excited to see what you have to say. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you.
Remember, if you're tweeting, it's MSU Links.
How's everybody doing this afternoon? We got the afternoon lunch, so hopefully nobody dozes off too much. This is actually my first professional conference presentation, so don't be too hard on me. Greatly appreciate the opportunity, and one thing that I think is important about this topic area is we all spend tons of time creating library videos, whether they be tutorials or live action. So if we're going to take that time and put that effort into it, we really want it to reach the widest audience, and hopefully some of the tips and things I go over today can make that a little bit easier. What I'm going to talk about today, I want to point out, is only one process. I'm going to be talking about some specific tools, whether that be Blackboard, LibGuides, or YouTube, and it's your own library. You might use internal subject pages, you might use Moodle, you might prefer to use Vimeo in your case. So I'm not going to be able to go into all those alternatives. This is just a process that I've found has worked really well for me personally, as well as some other folks at my institution. And for this presentation, I'm not really going to be going into any detail about how to create the video itself. I'm assuming that you're already familiar with whether it be Camtasia or Captivate and have already created the video, and now you're ready to upload and you're ready to get the word out. So we won't be covering that part of things. As we go through, I will be using extensive use of live demonstrations. I've only got a handful of slides here. I really want to open up the tools and show you how they work. So bear with me. I'm a Mac guy, but I'm using a PC. I think it'll be just fine. But sometimes that can be an issue. And with that, there's going to be some audio that's playing through these videos. So if the sound is too loud or not loud enough, just let me know, and I can adjust that accordingly. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump right into it here. And so for what I like to use is YouTube. And the reason I prefer to YouTube is these features and these different things here. Popularity, first and foremost. Alexa ranks YouTube as the 3rd most popular website on the whole internet. So it's definitely somewhere that people are already comfortable with the interface and going to. In terms of mobile accessibility, what I really like about this is whether you're on an iPad, an iPhone, an Android, a Windows phone, it's all going to work there. And also, oftentimes, it will have an app already installed. So whenever I bought any of these devices, there was already a YouTube app right there. So that just makes it a little bit easier. And then as you get into some other things like Apple TV or Roku boxes, some of these streaming media boxes, they all have YouTube normally installed as a default app as well. So I really feel like that accessibility is a great benefit to this. And then there's some more advanced features. I'm sure many of you probably already use YouTube and are familiar with it and watch tons of videos there. But some of the things in terms of whether it be analytics, some of the new editing features that were more recently added, captioning and translation, I feel like some of these are a little bit lesser known and maybe underutilized. So what I'd like to do is kind of hop out and take a look at some of these in a little bit more detail. So we're going to hop over to YouTube here, and I've went ahead and logged into the University of Alabama Library's YouTube page. You can see that up at the top here. And so what I'm going to do is click over to my channel. And here you'll see a list of all the different videos that we've uploaded to YouTube. And the one that I'm going to be using primarily today is this one here called Help Us Big Out. I'm actually a filmmaker, and so I conceived and wrote the script for this video, worked with some theater students on campus to be our actors. And it's just kind of a brief introductory video to UA libraries. And so this is kind of, what I'll be using as an example, but it could just as equally be maybe a screencast or something like that you had done that was more of a traditional tutorial in nature. Okay, so what I want to do is come up here and go to analytics, and right at the kind of the onset here, you've got kind of this overview that tells you some additional information that you might not have known about your video. I spoke briefly about the importance of mobile accessibility, and in this case you can see that about 18% of the views were coming from mobile devices for this. And if we want to drill down into that, you can look into these reports. So I'm going to click over to views here, and what I want to do is change this time frame, because I'm only showing 16 views. I know from just the YouTube videos page that it's got more than 16 views. So if I move this slider over, I should be able to get kind of more of a historical basis of what these views are. And then I can start to see, so you can see this is whenever the video was uploaded, and you can see there were some spikes here and there. What I think this is useful for is working in an academic institution. I would expect that these spikes and these things would correlate with maybe the start of the semester, as a lot of students are coming in and wanting to be introduced to the library. Maybe that's not what I'm seeing here. I'm seeing there was a big spike right whenever it was uploaded, and then I would think, okay, well maybe towards the beginning of the spring semester, but no, the spike is more towards May. So what this shows me is maybe we need to do some additional marketing at different points in the semester. So it just gives you a visibility at a deeper level than this, this video overall has 232 views. I know, well, people have seen this, but by drilling down, you can get a lot more useful information. And in this case, it even shows us that we've got some folks from a different country that have been able to see the video. And just to mention, this video is shown in a lot of our instructional sessions. So while the view count itself might be a bit lower, that's largely due to we'll have a group of 30 students that are watching the video all at one time. So I'm going to hop into a couple of these other analytical features. One that I think is pretty neat is this playback location. So if I look into it, I can see how many of these views have come from the YouTube watch page, for example. So folks that have come out to YouTube itself and watched the video there. Mobile devices, we already touched on that briefly, and we've got the percentages. But what I find to be most neat is this embedded player. So if I click on that, it will take me a level deeper, and I can see some of the sites where it's been shown. So this is TED, Facebook, Twitter, all those places where you might be embedding your videos and trying to get the word out. You can use some of these analytical features to see, is this effective? And, I'm putting this up on Facebook, or I'm putting this video on Twitter. Are people actually clicking on that and watching it? And otherwise, you might just post it on your Twitter, and if you don't get a retweet, you don't know if people are even aware of it or watching it or not. So this can be really helpful. Now, another way that you can get a little bit more detailed information, so this kind of shows you a little bit of an overview, but if you click into traffic sources here, and scroll down, this shows you a level that's even deeper because you can see folks that have searched for the video on YouTube, folks that may have searched for it through a Google search. So if you're trying to do things like adjust keywords so that more people can find it organically, right? That's something that you might realize, well, nobody's really finding this through a Google search. Only 4 people have found this video through a Google search. Maybe next time I do a video, if I want more people to find it that way, I'll change up the title to something that people might find through Google search that's got some additional information. So those are just some of the analytical features that I find to be really helpful for, especially for marketing purposes and kind of seeing if your marketing is being effective. Now, one thing that you might not be able to really know is, are people interested in this video? You can see how many views you've got and things like that, but it's got this feature called audience retention. And if you click on that, what it does is it'll play the video and show you.
We've got to get this group project done. I mean, I don't know where to go. We need to
pull this down. So it shows you as the video is going through what the retention level is. So how many people are still watching that, or if people clicked away at this point. And as it goes through, you might see it drop in some places. Maybe that's a place where you need to go back into editing, change something up, and try to upload a different version. If we scroll down, if we go to the side here, we can see where it really starts to taper off at the end. But if we click here, what you'll see is the video is already concluded. So it was pretty consistent audience throughout in terms of retention for this particular video. The reason I wanted to point this out is if you look into the relative audience retention, you can see whether it's average, below average, above average, things like that. And since we're using a channel for all of our videos that we're uploading, you can also click back over to your channel and then look at a different video. Maybe this one's about our new discovery tool. Click on analytics, click on audience retention, and you can see it looks drastically different in this case. So maybe in this case we're knowing, well, you know, we're losing half the audience by, you know, the less than the second minute. So maybe we need to split this up into 2 separate videos. So there's things like this that you just might not know otherwise as a video creator that YouTube can really help with. I don't want to bore you with too much of the analytics. That's kind of all I want to say about that, but I do think a lot of this is really neat. And, you know, as a filmmaker myself that's done some videos non-library related, I find it really helpful to kind of be able to drill down into some of these things. So I want to come back to the video, and I'm going to show you some other features that I talked about on the PowerPoint slide.
Josh, I just wanted to, we didn't say that beforehand, but the PowerPoint slide will be on the website afterwards so that you'll have access to that so you can go in and try this. I just want to make sure we.
And I'm being recorded, right? So.
You're being recorded.
So I'm back in the video here, and let's just imagine that you had just uploaded a video, whether it be a screencast or some sort of tutorial for your library. What you might want to do is make some changes to it. So if you click up here to edit, you can do things, you know, maybe you were seeing that not a lot of people were finding your video through the YouTube search or through the Google search. You can change some of these tags here, add some additional information, metadata basically, so that it can become more findable, more discoverable. You can change the category, so in this case we're using education. Maybe if that's not getting large feedback, we can change that category. And you can also change the license type. You know, I like Creative Commons and use a lot of Creative Commons images, so I try to pay it forward with the content I create. Now, more recently, I believe, were some of these enhancement features that have been provided. So I'm going to click over to effects, and I created this video, and you know, I thought it looked pretty good. You might not be able to tell as much on the projector, but something that you do when you're creating videos like this, or the big productions houses have color correction to try to really make the colors pop and things like that. I know more about editing than I do about color correction. I wasn't able to really go into all that detail. Well, they've got all these filters and effects that you can add onto the video, and you can see how there's going to be a difference here as you start to apply some of these. One is even called cartoon, and it really kind of makes it look different than the original. And this is so quick and so easy to just pop onto your video and see, does this work better? Does it make the video look neater? Will this resonate with my audience better? And the one I liked was this one right here. I felt like it was a good balance of making the colors a little bit brighter, but not so much that it's completely oversaturated and it just looks fake. So I would encourage you, if you are using some YouTube and using some of these, doing some videos like this, to play around with some of these features, because it can maybe provide some things, some production quality into your video that you might not initially have those skills yourself. The other thing, and this will be less useful maybe in this case because I've already included an audio track, but oftentimes library videos don't have any audio besides just someone talking, and it can get a little bit boring. So if you're uploading it to YouTube, they've got this huge selection of songs, and you can try to see, do any of these songs fit with my video? So I'll just play one here. And what you'll be able to do is hear this song playing as your video plays. Now, in this case, you can hear the music, but you can't hear the person talking, right? So there's a slider right here where you can adjust it from only music to favor the original audio. And so this way, if you did have someone talking that was important, you wanted to make sure they were still being heard, but you can still hear, if you listen, that same song kind of underneath that talking. So that's just something that you might want to use depending on which video project it is. And there's a ton of different options for the type of audio that you're going to be using. I would encourage you though to don't put audio in the video if you know you're going to use one of these songs. The problem with that is, so for example on my video, I included an audio track whenever I mastered it. And so now I can't use any one of these other songs because those two songs are going to clash together, right? If I would have exported that file with just someone talking, I could have easily integrated it in any one of these songs. And there's some additional features where you can kind of position the audio. Maybe you don't want it to start right at the beginning, or you want it to fade. You can do some of those more advanced features as well. So I think these enhancement features are really kind of accessible to new users that might not be, particularly well-versed in the whole world of video creation. And it's really allowing us as librarians some great tools to kind of take our videos up a notch that maybe we wouldn't have been aware of before. I think that covers, a lot of the features that I wanted to talk about within YouTube. But while we're on the subject of audio, I do want to briefly talk about captioning. And I think this is something that's really important for ADA compliance and accessibility and things of that nature. So I'm going to hop over to the Captions tab, and what we'll see here is I'm going to just play the video, and I'm going to click this button to turn on captions.
I don't know where to go.
And you can see here, it's got the captions going right along with it. Now I'm going to come back, and I'm going to click on this. You'll notice there's an active track and this disabled track. This active track is captions that I uploaded myself based off the original script. This disabled track is YouTube's attempt to interpret what people are saying here. And we'll just pause at random here. And so on the YouTube video, the official script line is, look, they even have whiteboards for brainstorming. What YouTube thought they said was white or for great food. So sometimes their machine translation of trying to guess what people are saying can be a bit rough, especially if you mastered that audio file up underneath it, right? Because it makes the sound a little bit more muddled. I also hear it can be a struggle with the southern accent to properly guess what those captions should be. The great thing about it though is you can just click on this and you can change that and fix that right in here and click save and update. So it's very easy. So if you have a shorter video, you can let it run its machine translation, see how close it is. You'll be lucky if it's 70% correct. And then you can, from there, make your edits, make your changes, and make it a little bit more accurate. If it's a little bit longer video, the process I prefer to do is to actually download the caption file. So you can, for example, download or upload a caption file. So if we had this machine translation, I didn't work from a script. Maybe I was just reading, saying something off the cuff, describing something. Well, since I don't have a script, I need to use these captions to know kind of where everything's at. So you could download this file, and it's going to look something like this. YouTube uses a file format called .svg, which isn't editable in your kind of standard Microsoft Word application or anything like that. On Macs, you can use TextEdit to change it around. On Windows machines, you might be able to use WordPad or something like that to change it. So what you would want to do is download that caption file. And the important thing that you're looking for here is the time code. So this is letting you know the word started exactly this moment, and this sentence lasts exactly this long. And then you can just change all these phrases to match up with what it's supposed to be. And then upload that after the fact, and then you've got corrected captions instead of having to do that kind of manually line by line. You can do it as a whole file and then upload the corrected file. The other huge benefit for captions is the ability to try to reach non-English speakers. So as this is playing, you can translate these captions into a different language. So I don't speak French, for example, or I don't speak Dutch. So I'm going to click OK. And as they are talking here, well, maybe I should pick something. I'll click Arabic. So as you can see, it's now translated those captions into Arabic. And this is something I would have no clue how to do despite what my appearance may tell you. I'm actually Fijian, so if you're wondering. So this could be really useful. The only problem might be this is going to be probably just as inaccurate as we saw with the original translations, right? But at least it's going from you put the proper captions in first. So if you are going to use this feature, I would really encourage you to first clean up your captions, make sure the English is proper, so it's translating to something, from at least a proper source. So this is really neat. If you do happen to be fluent in Arabic, what you can do, or any other language, is you can upload a caption transcript in that language. Maybe if you have a large Spanish-speaking population for your library, and you have someone that works for your library that's very fluent in Spanish, you can take the same caption file, take the same time code, and just put the Spanish in here for each line that would be the translation, and then upload that. And then you would enable an English track and a Spanish track. And then users will be able to select, well, do I want the English track, the Spanish track, or do I want to translate it into a language that's not listed? So YouTube, I like it. It's got a lot of great stuff. I think I'm going to now transition back and talk about some other things that we have to offer. So now that you've done all this in YouTube, you've made your video, you've fixed the filters and the audio, and you've done all these great things, you now need to make it visible. And there's various ways that you can do this. Probably the most popular of which is sharing it, whether that be to Facebook or to Twitter or things like that. And I'm not going to go into that because I feel like hopefully most of you are familiar with how that process works. Folks might be a little bit less familiar with the embedding process. So I'm going to go into, and you might have all these different ways that you will want it to be embedded. So I'm going to talk about each of these real briefly, just in case you need to embed this for your own library. So I believe first I was going to talk about embedding it into LibGuides. So I've got a LibGuides page pulled up right here. What I'm going to do is add a new box. I'm going to just call this Intro to the Library. And for the box type, I'm going to come over here to Multimedia Embedded, and then I'm going to create the box. So the box is created. There's no video there right at the moment. You come back to the YouTube page, and this is the main page, and you click over on Share. Underneath Share, you've got a link where you could post it out to Facebook or Twitter, but you've also got this embed code here. So you can just copy this code, come back over to LibGuides, add the code. It says, add the code here, and then embed it. Now, the reason I created this on purpose in this column was to show you that it doesn't fit, right? Well, YouTube makes it very easy. Over here, you can actually choose a custom width and height. So if you've got only a small area on your web page that you need to embed the video, you can adjust that width and height parameters here to try to make it where it will fit it within the particular source that you're embedding it into. Within LibGuides here, we could simply just move this to the center column and it will work more effectively. The other place that you might need to embed it is within your library's website. At my institution, I'm able to post to the website directly. This page is not live, but what I would do is I would click here under Edit, go to the source code, paste it, save it, and here we go. We've got the video. Just copy and paste pretty much, and it's up on the library's website that easily. The other way that you might want to do it is within Blackboard. I don't know how many of you are with academic institutions, if you're even using Blackboard, but there's a couple different ways that you can do it within Blackboard. I've got a practice course pulled up here. You would simply go to Build Content, Web Link, and this is where it's different. So if you're creating it this way, instead of the embed code, you would need the URL. So I would have to come back over to YouTube, and I don't want to copy this embed code because that's not going to work there. I've got to copy this, and then click over here. And so then once I submit that, now in whichever class, maybe it's for an instructor and they're teaching their class within Blackboard, they can simply click on this and it's going to take them right to the video. Alternatively, you could also build it this way as a mashup, as a YouTube video. And whenever you do that, at least the new system of Blackboard that our institution's using, they have a YouTube search integrated into Blackboard itself. So in this case, instead of copying that embed code, I've got to search for the video's title and find it that way, so I can embed it this way. I would then just select the video, click Submit, and now it's embedded this other way into the Blackboard system. So I think that covers what I wanted to talk about for embedding and the different ways that you can do it on web resources. I will say that there's another way that libraries love to use, which is QR codes. Especially if you're doing print media, you might want to embed a video, into a QR code. And the website that I prefer to use is by the same developer that makes the iPhone and Android application called Crafter. The URL's a little bit long, so if you just Google Crafter, QR code generator, you'll find it. The reason that I like this site most is because you can actually choose the colors. So if you have some print media and you're trying to match up the colors, we'll put the link here. And then we can say, okay, we want, coming from Alabama, we want some red, maybe some gray, generate code, and it's now created this QR code for me to that video in the color scheme that I wanted. And because it uses those hex values, you can get with your graphic design department and use the exact same color scheme and make sure it matches perfectly with whichever print media that you're using. A lot of libraries use QR codes. What I've found is that they can sometimes be not as useful. There's just a QR code everywhere, let's just stick a QR code on it. The place where I saw a QR code that I thought, wow, what a brilliant idea, was at the University Rec Center. They had all the workout machines, and they put a little QR code there on how to use the machine. So if someone, the staff member was helping someone else, or there was nobody around, they could just watch it, click, scan that with their phone, watch a video, and then know exactly how to work that machine. So I think that could be a great use of QR codes for libraries. Okay, hopping back over to the slides. Now what I want to talk about is TED-Ed. So you've done all this stuff, you've now made your videos, you've made them effective, you made them accessible. Now you want to try to do something else to actually engage your audience. This tool that I'm going to show you is by the same folks that have done TED Talks. There was a little bit of a mention of that earlier today, and I think it's got a lot of potential. What you can do is add some context to your videos and additional information that you might not be able to just put on a YouTube screen. You can also add questions to help test your viewers, make sure they're gaining the concepts that you want them to, and give them kind of a point of reflection. So I really think this is kind of a neat tool. So I'm going to hop out and spend a little bit of time talking about it. So it's just at ed.ted.com, and it's really neat. So we'll just click into one of the videos here. I'm going to browse by subject because I think that's one of the ways that it's easier to find the videos. And I'm just going to pull up one here from social studies. Now, the reason that I want to show all these videos here are featured. And the reason I want to show a featured video first is because there's some different things that can be done with a featured video as opposed to a video that you may have created yourself for your library. So we'll just pull this up and start the video.
Tell you all about a piece of American history that is so secret that nobody has done anything about it for 167 years until right now. And the way that we're going to uncover this vestigial organ of America past is by asking this question: why? As we all know, we're in the middle of the
And as the video is playing,
by asking this question,
you can actually have questions
as we all
queued
know,
up for the audience to answer.
we're in the middle of yet another
about
presidential
that video.
election, hotly contested, as you can see.
So in this
But what you may
case,
not know is that American voter turnout.
he's talking about why do we vote on Tuesdays, right? It's something I didn't know this election season. I thought it was interesting. But then it gives us some of these questions that really help engage me as a viewer. Instead of just passively sitting there and watching this video, I'm paying attention because I want to answer this question correctly. Now, I believe I'm going to have to...
reason whatsoever. I'm not joking.
I've actually already taken this quiz, so that's why the answer's pulled up. So I'll just pick another one kind of at random. So here we go. So we've got a different video here, and now in this case, it doesn't have an answer that's already picked, right? So
for half a second, but that
I
half
don't know
second
what
was
the answer
filled with
is to
a
this,
lifetime of
right?
regrets and two decisions that brought me here to the top.
what you can do
First decision
is maybe you watch the video, you think you know what the answer is, you think the answer is 1.
years.
You click check my answer, and it says, that's incorrect. That's not what the right answer is. You weren't watching the video close enough. If you click on video hint, what it will do is actually jump you to that part of the video where it was talking about that specific concept. So that way, you can kind of retrain yourself as you take these quizzes to improve your scores and retain the information over time. I think that's really neat. The problem is that all these multiple choice questions and some of those things that we've got available to us here are only available for featured videos. And that's a little bit unfortunate because the video that I showed earlier that was created for the libraries was not featured. You can still use this tool, but it's not going to give you the multiple choice options, and it's definitely not going to give you the video hint option. So that is definitely one drawback. I will mention though that this tool is in beta, so it can change. And as they're a beta product, they are open to feedback. So I'd encourage all of you, if you are going to be using this tool, say, please let us use multiple choice for other videos that aren't featured. I'm going to hop over to my video and show you, some of the things that I added into it there. So this is the video here. And I'm just going to click play here. So this is an introduction to the libraries. It says where are the study rooms at. I can still create that question. I created that question. They can input an answer, and they can save an answer as users. What they can't do is check that answer in a multiple choice fashion or go to a video hint. I added an additional question. Does the library allow food or drink? This is just some very cursory basic information, but all of these things are included in the video. Now, I included these questions in this order because they align with the video. What I would discourage you from doing is, okay, I'm going to wait till the very end, and then that's where they'll get the answer to the first question. Because then, the whole time, people are going to be wanting to find that answer, and then whenever they skip on to the second question, oh, that was back at the beginning, and they've already forgotten that. So all these questions that I've created here were done in chronological order to kind of go along with the video and paste, every 30 or 45 seconds, one of these concepts would come up that would be, the answer to the question. So we've got all these questions, but what's the usefulness of it beyond just kind of quizzing your audience, right? Well, beyond just letting them kind of test themselves and that kind of competition element, you can also add a dig deeper section where they can, now that they've kind of invested a bit and they've taken the time to answer these questions, they can find out more about your libraries. And so what we've got here is a link to our Ask a Librarian service. So maybe they found some more about the libraries, but they still need to know more. They have a question that wasn't answered in the video. I've got this link here that I couldn't have maybe put within a standard YouTube video or something like that. Now there's another huge fault to the system that I perceive at least, and that's that once you publish a video, you can't edit it. Okay, so I created this video, I published it, I was like, oh, I'm using something neat, it's cool, and I put in the wrong link here. And now, anytime you click this, we can't find that link. It's a 404 error. And for the life of this page, unless they update the beta software to change it, that's going to lead to a 404 error, and I can't just fix that link or fix a spelling incorrection or something like that. What I could do is create a completely new lesson, and that would be easy enough to do, but you can't edit it. So that's something that I wanted to just kind of mention there because I think that's another kind of shortcoming. But because, these videos are so easy to create, what I'd like to do actually is go through the process with you as a group and kind of create one of these lessons together.
Okay,
Yes, but it's a private URL, so it would be almost as if you had created a private YouTube video or a private web page, unless you tell people about
Okay.
it. You know, so you could create a page, oh, I noticed the spelling incorrection. I sure am glad I didn't put this on our newsletter yet. But if you're going to put it in your newsletter, make sure that everything is fixed and perfect first. But that's a great question. So what you can do here is you can go to YouTube and search for any video, and we're going to create a lesson together. Does anybody have a suggestion? It doesn't have to be library related. If not, I'm going to use keyboard cat. So really, any video on YouTube, you search for it, and you simply click flip this video. And the whole notion of flip this video is that it's kind of similar to the flipped classroom approach. You're trying to get your patrons, your user group, to become familiar with the material before they come into the library, to gain some of those skills before they have to come up to the information desk. Now, when you're creating it, you can change the title. That's important because in this case, I don't think that this is probably the best title. I might would just call this Keyboard Cat. Right? And then you can click over to Think and start creating questions. So I'm going to ask, what color is the cat's shirt? See, they might have been listening to the music so much they couldn't tell what color the shirt was. Is this funny or funny? See, that's more of a, again, thinking a little bit, right? So I've now kind of created a couple different questions, and we can also add some additional material if we want them to dig deeper. So what do you think this means about animals' musical ability? So, very quickly, and I'm going to leave it up to the group. Once I hit this publish button, there's no editing. It's going to be out there on the web. So, do you think we should just preview it, or should we go ahead and publish it?
Preview.
Preview it. Okay, all right. So, we're going to preview it. And I think it's telling us it's ready to go. So, oh, I've got to select a category, I believe here. Okay, so we've got our video. Somebody's watching along. And I had to work this in, you know, it's towards the end of the presentation. So, yeah, it's created now. So anybody can go out there and watch this. And I think it's just such a low barrier for you to kind of leverage this tool and, you know, provide some more information in your tutorial. Now, there are, I'm not a huge fan of breakdown. I just like the beginning personally. There are some other limitations that I think are important to note beyond just the lack of multiple choice and beyond the fact that you can't edit it. Another big problem is it can't be embedded. So earlier in the presentation, I talked about how you can embed this video within all these different tools. Well, because this has the question component and the discussion component and all those things, you can't fit that in a little tiny sidebar box. So if you're going to be creating these lessons, then you might not be able to embed them as easily. What you can do is it will create a unique URL that you can share the same way you would any other URL. So if you want to put a URL to this lesson on your Twitter account or on your library's Facebook page or anything like that, you you can definitely do that. You can embed, put this lesson within a course management system such as Blackboard as well. And you could put a link to it on your library's tutorials webpage. Here's the video, here's a video with some additional questions that you could answer. Now you might be wondering, so people have answered these questions, I wonder what their responses are. I wonder if they're answering them correctly. So if we come back to the home page here and click on recent activity, this is one of the videos that I had created earlier. And what you can see is it's got a place for active students. After the video has been published and someone has actually come to the video, it will show you folks that have taken this quiz, right? So this was the answers for myself. Whenever I took the quiz, I can kind of scroll through and see what my answers were, if they were about what I was expecting. This is a friend of mine and what they wrote, and I can kind of scroll through and see were they in the right place or not with their answers. The way it's able to do this is whenever someone comes across one of these pages, they're asked to create an account. They can do that, register an account or connect it with their Facebook. However, they don't have to create an account to be able to use the system. They can just X out of that box and still answer the questions, but on the back end, you won't ever get any of this data about are people answering this correctly. So I think that covers most of what I wanted to talk about for TED-Ed. I just want to hop back to the PowerPoint and a few closing thoughts. YouTube is a great tool. It's got all these advanced features that may not be as well known, so it behooves us to definitely explore them. Sharing and embedding are definitely important, but I would encourage you to use it appropriately. That means use the proper link or the embed code in each of the situations. While also, if you've got a Twitter account and a Facebook account and a Pinterest account and an Instagram account, it might not be good to push your video out to all of those places at one time. Because if someone is following those different areas, then they just kind of got spammed on like 4 different services about the exact same video. So find a way to maybe mix up your message or stagger it a little bit. Maybe on Twitter, hey, check out our new video. On Facebook, you can do some screenshots and some different things and do a little bit more detailed or something like that. And then TED-Ed, I think this has a lot of potential to really, change the game for library videos. We're always looking to get some assessment components, and this offers a lot of those features in a very easy-to-use format. I'm anxious to see, as it continues to develop over time, if they will make it a little bit more robust. So that's the closing thoughts. I'm going to, with the rest of the time, just open it up for any questions.
How do you typically, what is your sort of first line of defense, I guess, for promotion when you create a video? Is it, do you do something immediately, or what is your sort of
we definitely use social media. We've got a Facebook page, we've got a Twitter page, so we use things like that. And something like this, we did an event for the university called Week of Welcome, and we showcased the video for all these new students that were coming in. So that was kind of the impetus. Hey, there's going to be new students coming in. They don't know anything about the libraries. Let's create a video that's a little bit fun. It's using the mascot, and it talks about a lot of these different things. And instead of us just having to tell them, hey, you can check out a laptop. Well, now they can just watch the video and get that information. So I think a varied approach is definitely important, though. You can't rely on just one thing. And print is still good. We've got a huge readership of our campus newspaper. So if we have a particular event or something like that, then we would definitely utilize that as well. Any other questions about any of these tools or anything?
I'm going to keep asking questions. How do you, so like this obviously was a special event, the Welcome Back. What other kinds of videos or tutorials do you do? What is your sort of workflow for that? Does somebody request one, or how does that kind of happen?
We've actually got a tutorial coordinator. So, you know, maybe if we get a new database, or we just recently switched to EBSCO Discovery System. So, you know that students are used to one interface, and now we're switching to a completely different interface. That needs to be a higher priority than maybe a new database that might be less used. It is a little bit more specialized. So with that coordinator, you know, she's able to kind of set the priorities. And on the video creation side, we have set some best practices, and this is something I would encourage you all to have is, you know, whether it's going to be, are you creating these videos in HD dimensions or standard definition dimensions? Are you creating them with music in the background or not? Are you using some branding that keeps it consistent? Things like that. So, yeah, that's definitely some things.
Would you be willing to share those best practices? Would you be willing to share those?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you guys just one group that creates them, or do you have it distributed? Does the coordinator do the creation of them as well, or just distributed throughout the library?
It's definitely distributed throughout the libraries. We do have, try to use this point of access though for our videos. So, for example, I'm within the information services department. I would say we probably do the majority of the videos, and they're mostly not fun stuff like this. They're normally more, you know, kind of, here's a standard screencast of how to use the particular specifics of this interface or this tool. But we've got special collections that might create, you know, a more specialized video for an exhibit they're doing or something like that, and they'll put that up on our YouTube page as well. So there's definitely different folks within the libraries that do videos. With this video, we have a media department, and so we collaborated with them to help with some of the camera work, some of the editing, and some of those things because they had some natural expertise there. So I definitely encourage you to work with other colleagues within the libraries because they might have some great ideas for videos or content that maybe within your own area you might not have initially thought of. And that's definitely been the case with some of our special collections. Anyone else?
Is there, we have a lib, we have lib guides, and so we have tutorials, embedded there, or the links that we use YouTube as well. Do you have like a page of tutorials, a list, so on your, if I just was coming to Tuscaloosa this week, my nephew moved yesterday, if I said, you need to go watch that video, how do we go to the library's webpage to find it first, or?
Well, there's different ways, because videos are created by different departments. If you want more of a comprehensive list, I think the YouTube channel serves that purpose really well. Otherwise, things can get a bit siloed. So, if Special Collections creates a video, they might put that in their tutorial area underneath the whole Special Collections library. If Information Services has created a series of videos about information literacy, they might be under the Gorgas Library, Information Services subpage. And so there's these videos that are existing in these two different places, and one of the only places where you might see that complete list is on the YouTube channel.
So it's one YouTube account.
With one YouTube account, correct. Well, I thank you very much for your time.